Hello everybody, thank you for joining me again today. We're going to be discussing the prose or poetry section of the Bible, and we're going to start with the book of Job. The book of Job is an ancient Hebrew text found in the Old Testament of the Bible. It is a poetic and philosophical exploration of human suffering, faith, and the nature of God's justice. Here's a summary of the main themes and events of the book of Job. The book begins by a righteous and prosperous man living in the land of Uz. He's and upright, fearing God and shunning evil. Satan, in a conversation with God, suggests that Job's devotion is based on his wealth and prosperity, and that he would renounce his faith if faced with suffering. God permits Satan to test Job's faith, and Satan proceeds to strip away Job's wealth, kills his children, and afflicts him with painful sores. Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, visit him and engage in a series of dialogues with him, trying to provide explanations for his suffering. They adhere to the belief that suffering is a consequence of sin and urge Job to repent. However, Job maintains his innocence and questions the justice of his suffering. He laments his condition, expressing his anguish and desire for God to explain the reason behind his afflictions. Job's speeches contain profound reflections on the human condition, the fleeting nature of life, and the mystery of God's ways. A young man named Elihu later enters the conversation and offers his own perspective. He claims that suffering can serve as a form of discipline and instruction, urging Job to humbly submit to God's wisdom and sovereignty. Finally, God appears to Job out of a whirlwind and addresses him directly. God's response is a poetic and majestic monologue, emphasizing his power and wisdom as the creator of the universe. He challenges Job's limited humanity to the complexity and grandeur of his creation. Upon encountering God, Job realizes that the limitations of his own knowledge and humbles himself before God. He repents of his questioning and acknowledges God's sovereignty and justice. In response, God restores Job's fortunes, blessing him with even greater prosperity than before. The book of Job concludes with a resolution that highlights the importance of trust and faith in God even in the midst of profound suffering. It also explores the theme that human understanding is limited in comprehending the ways of God and his divine purposes. Overall, the book of Job addresses the timeless question of why the righteous suffer and the problem of evil in the world. It encourages readers to trust in God's wisdom and justice, even in the face of inexplicable suffering, and to find hope in his ultimate sovereignty. I want to point something out here. In the last chapters of the book of Job, part of God's statements to Job includes statements about how he takes care of animals that can't take care of themselves. And I would point out that God is making the point that he knows how to take care of all of his creations, and if Job will just have faith in God, God will take care of him as well. Now we go to the book of Psalms, found in the Old Testament of the Bible, which is a collection of 150 poetic and lyrical compositions attributed to various authors, including King David. The Psalms cover a wide range of themes, emotions, and experiences, serving as a source of prayer, praise, lament, and wisdom. Here's a summary of the main themes and features of the book of Psalms. Expressions of worship and praise. Many psalms are hymns of praise and thanksgiving, celebrating the greatness, power, and faithfulness of God. They exalt God's attributes, recount his mighty acts, and invite all creation to join in worship. Laments and petitions. The psalms also contain heartfelt expressions of sorrow, pain, and distress. They give voice to human suffering, crying out to God for help, comfort, and deliverance. These laments often end with expressions of trust and confidence in God's faithfulness. Wisdom and instruction. Some psalms offer practical wisdom and guidance, encouraging righteous living in the pursuit of God's ways. They teach about the blessings of wisdom, the consequences of wickedness, and the importance of obedience to God's commands. Royal Psalms. Several psalms focus on the kingship of God and the role of the king as God's chosen representative. These psalms celebrate the anointed king, express trust in God's protection, and anticipate the establishment of an eternal kingdom. Historical psalms. Certain psalms recount Israel's history and God's faithfulness throughout their journey. They remember God's deliverance from Egypt, his provision in the wilderness, and his guidance during times of national crisis. Individual and community psalms. The psalms encompass both personal and communal expressions of faith. Some psalms reflect the individual experiences of the authors, while others express the hopes, joys, and struggles of the entire community of believers. Penitential psalms. A number of psalms express deep remorse and repentance for sins committed. They seek God's forgiveness and restoration, acknowledging the need for his mercy and grace. And messianic psalms. Certain psalms contain prophetic elements pointing to the future Messiah and his redemptive work. These psalms anticipate the coming of a righteous and just ruler who will establish God's kingdom on earth. Throughout the book of Psalms, the diversity of human emotions and experiences is captured, providing readers with a rich and authentic portrayal of the human relationship with God. The Psalms invite believers to pour out their hearts to God, find solace and encouragement in his presence, and respond to him in worship, praise, and obedience. They continue to be a source of inspiration and devotion for people of faith throughout history. And hopefully at another time I'll discuss the theology of worship and developing a healthy prayer life. But not right now. Right now we're going through books of the Bible, such as the book of Proverbs. Which is one of the wisdom books of the Old Testament of the Bible. It is attributed to men of his time. The book is a collection of concise and practical sayings that offer guidance and moral and wise and righteous life. Here's a summary of the main themes and teachings found in the book of Proverbs. Wisdom. The book emphasizes the importance of seeking wisdom, which is personified as a woman calling out to people. Wisdom is portrayed as valuable and essential for making good choices and living a righteous life. Fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord is presented as the beginning of knowledge and wisdom. It involves reverence and awe toward God, acknowledging his authority and seeking to follow his ways. Practical advice. Proverbs offers practical advice for various aspects of life, including relationships, work, ethic, money, management, speech, and personal conduct. It encourages diligence, honesty, humility, integrity, and self-control. The two paths. The book contrasts the paths of the wise and the foolish. The wise person heeds instruction, seeks knowledge, and lives with prudence. The foolish person rejects wisdom, acts impulsively, and suffers the consequences of their actions. Parental instruction. Proverbs often addresses the relationship between parents and children, emphasizing the importance of listening to parental guidance and honoring one's parents. It highlights the responsibility of parents to teach their children and the benefits of heeding their instruction. Words and speech. The book contains many teachings on the powers of words and speech. It warns against using deceptive or hurtful words and promotes honesty, kindness, and the control of one's tongue. Diligence and laziness. Proverbs encourages diligence and hard work, condemning laziness and slothfulness. It highlights the value of being industrious, responsible, and proactive. Justice and righteousness. The book advocates for justice and fairness, discouraging oppression, bribery, and dishonesty. It stresses the importance of treating others with kindness and integrity. The fear of the Lord as the key to a blessed life. Proverbs teaches that those who fear the Lord and follow his ways will experience blessings and favor from God. It contrasts this with the consequences of wickedness and disobedience. Overall, the book of Proverbs offers practical wisdom for daily living, focused on the importance of seeking wisdom, fearing God, and making wise choices in various areas of life. It provides valuable guidance for personal conduct, relationships, and moral decision-making. That is about the book of Proverbs. So far we've done Job, Psalms, and Proverbs. Next up is the book of Ecclesiastes. The book of Ecclesiastes, traditionally attributed to King Solomon, is a philosophical and reflective work found in the Old Testament of the Bible. The book explores the meaning of life, the pursuit of wisdom, often presenting a skeptical and introspective perspective. Here's a summary of the main themes and teachings found in the book of Ecclesiastes. Vanity and the futility of life. The book opens with the famous declaration, "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity." It reflects on the fleeting nature of life and the apparent human endeavors. It highlights the cyclical and repetitive nature of existence, where everything seems to be ultimately futile. The pursuit of pleasure and wealth. Ecclesiastes explores the pursuit of pleasure, material possessions, and wealth as potential sources of fulfillment. It concludes that while these pursuits may provide temporary enjoyment, they ultimately fail to satisfy and can be meaningless. Wisdom and knowledge. The book emphasizes the pursuit of wisdom and knowledge as a valuable endeavor. However, it also recognizes that even wisdom cannot provide ultimate answers or solve the existential questions of life. Time and seasons. Ecclesiastes reflects on the cyclical nature of time and the seasons of life. It observes that there is a time for everything, including birth, death, mourning, and rejoicing. It encourages embracing the present moment and finding contentment within it. Injustice and the limits of human control. The book acknowledges the presence of injustice and oppression in the world, recognizing that life is often unpredictable and beyond human control. It questions the notion of a just and ordered universe. Enjoyment of life's simple pleasures. Despite the overall tone of skepticism, Ecclesiastes also encourages finding joy in simple pleasures, such as enjoying one's work, companionship, and the goodness of everyday life. It suggests that contentment can be found in appreciating the small blessings that come our way. The fear of God. The book concludes with the admonition to fear God and keep His commandments. It asserts that true wisdom and fulfillment come from recognizing and honoring God's authority and living in obedience to His will. Ecclesiastes offers a thought-provoking reflection on the human condition, the pursuit of meaning, and the limitations of human wisdom and control. It challenges conventional notions of success and fulfillment, urging readers to consider the bigger questions of life and find contentment in the midst of life's uncertainties. And that is the book of Ecclesiastes. Next up is going to be the book of the Song of Solomon, or the Song of Songs. The Song of Solomon, also known as the Song of Songs, is a poetic and lyrical book found in the Old Testament of the Bible. It is traditionally attributed to King Solomon and is considered an allegorical depiction of the love and relationship between a bride and bridegroom. Here's a summary of the main themes and teachings found in the book of the Song of Solomon. Love and passion. The book celebrates the intense love and passion between a bride and her beloved. It uses vivid and metaphorical language to express the deep emotions, desires, and physical attraction shared between the two. Romantic imagery. Song of Solomon is filled with rich imagery and metaphors that depict the beauty of the natural world, such as flowers, fruits, gardens, and animals. These images are used to describe the physical attractiveness and allure of the beloved and the beloved's response, longing and pursuit. The book portrays the longing and pursuit of love, with the bride and bridegroom yearning for one another's presence. It describes their desire to be united and their willingness to overcome obstacles to be together. Communal celebration. The Song of Solomon includes the voices of other characters, referred to as the daughters of Jerusalem, who celebrate and affirm the love between the bride and the bridegroom. They offer words of encouragement and admiration, highlighting the communal joy in witnessing true love. The beauty and purity of love. The book extols the beauty and purity of love, emphasizing its power and the delight it brings. It celebrates the intimacy and oneness experienced by the lovers, both physically and emotionally. Allegorical interpretation. While the book describes a romantic relationship between a bride and bridegroom, It has also been interpreted allegorically as symbolizing the loving relationship between God and his people, particularly in Jewish and Christian traditions. In this interpretation, the bride represents the people of God, and the bridegroom represents God himself. The Song of Solomon stands out in the Bible for its poetic and passionate portrayal of love. It affirms the beauty and sanctity of romantic love while also pointing to a deeper spiritual significance. The book invites readers to appreciate the joys of love and to recognize the divine love that exists between God and his people. And that is the book of Song of Solomon. And the end of the books of poetry or prose. I want to thank you for joining me tonight or today, whenever you feel like you've joined me. And I want to encourage you to join me again next time when we will discuss the major prophets. There are 17 prophets in total in the Old Testament, 5 of which are called the major prophets, and 12 of which are called the minor prophets, or the 12. That's what they're known as in the Jewish literature. Thank you again for joining me, and may God bless